Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. So, welcome to the Quranic Arabic study group, session number 8. Inshallah, we'll briefly review the previous surah, Surah Al-Kafirun, chapter 109, and then go over Surah Al-Kauther, which is chapter 108 of the Quran. So let me read the surah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun la a'budu ma ta'budun wa la antum a'biduna ma a'bud wa la ana a'bidum ma a'badtum wa la antum a'biduna ma a'bud lakum dinukum waliya din. The translation. Say, O disbelievers, I worship not what you worship, and nor are you worshippers of what I worship, and nor am I a worshipper of what you worship, and nor are you a worshipper of what I worship. For you is your religion, and for me is my religion. Sadaqallahul Azim. And the words that we covered last time, just a couple of the few new ones. The first was kafara yakfuru, and the other one was abada ya'budu, which means to worship. So let's go over Surah Al-Kauther today. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kauther fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwal abtar. So translation. Inna a'tainaka al-Kauther. Indeed, we have given you Al-Kauther. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. So pray to your Lord and sacrifice. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar. Indeed, your enemy, he is the one who is cut off. So let's take a look at some of the words. Inna means indeed, and atainaka means we have given you. So let's take a closer look at the word. So the root words are ain, ta, and waw. Ain, ta, and waw. And it occurs, it's not very often used, just 14 times. And as a verb one, it is sort of an unusual form, which I'm also not very familiar with. It is ta'ata. So I'm not going to talk about that. But form 4 is what is being used over here, which is ata. As you can see, inna a'tainaka al-Kauther. So ata is the form 4. If you remember, in form 4, you have alif being added at the beginning of the word. And then it is also used 5 times as a noun, ata. And this is also used in in Urdu when we say ata something to somebody. So we're familiar with that. So if you look at inna a'tainaka, so I looked up in the dictionary as well, which is quite useful. So I've just copied it over here. So if you look at the word ata from the dictionary, this is the basic form, which is the past, which is the mazi form. And yorti is the mudari form, which is the present or future. And if you think about how it would be formed into a'taina, which is over here, so a'taitu would be I give. So basically this is we give, and a'taitu would be I give, and a'taina would be we give. So this is first person and plural. So a'taina would be we give. And when you add the Sorry?
Tense of this.
So this is past tense. So ata is past tense. All of this is past tense. The future tense would be yoti. So this is form 4, and that is why it is of form ata. Okay, and yoti would be the future tense. And from ata you could go to ataita, which means I give, which means you give, and ataitu means I give, and ata would mean he gives. And if you want to say I give, so it would be ataina, add a na. Okay, so ata itself would mean he gives, and so on. The different verbs, the different conjugations would be there. So ataina, and then ka is of course the pronoun which is added, which means that ataina, which means we gave, and ka would be you. So we gave you.
You.
And we, of course, ataina is the the word, the way Allah Ta'ala is often uses plural for himself. So ataina would be over here. And if you look at some of the other usage, for example, in Surah 93, it is, the Quran says, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَىٰ. So, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْتِي. So if you try to see how yu'ti is derived, and it means will give you. So if you look at yu'ti, it occurs over here. So this is the ata, what was the past tense, and yu'ti is the present or future tense. So yu'tika would be he will give you. So although it's so it is will give you or he will give you. وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَىٰ. And soon he will give you your Rabb فَتَرْضَىٰ. So we can see how the word ata is being used both here and in other places in the Quran. And in Surah 92, it is used as فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَىٰ وَاتَّقَىٰ, and the one who gives and achieves taqwa. So here it's basically the basic form ata which is being used. So the one who gives or he gives. So here are 3 different ways that the word ata is being used in the Quran. And so if we continue from where we were, inna a'tainaka, so indeed we have given you Al-Kauther. And Al-Kauther is here the word being used in the noun form, which is Kauther as we refer to it, which is the river or Nahr in Jannah. So indeed we have given you Al-Kauther. And the root word is Kaf, Sa, and Ra, Kasara. And it's used quite frequently in the Quran, but here as a noun it is only used once. So the word Kausar only as a noun appears once in the Quran, in Surah Al-Kauther. But of course it is used quite frequently in its different forms. For example, Aksar and Kasir, which means a lot. So this is quite frequently the other forms, but we'll discuss those as we go through them in the future. So this is Inna Atayna Kal Kausar. Indeed, we have given you Al Kausar. Fasalli li Rabbika Wanhar. Fasalli is the word to pray, and it is a verb. And let's take a closer look. So the root word is swad lam, and wow. Okay, and this has to be differentiated from a word that we came across before, which was in Surah 111, Surah Lahab. We saw the word Swad Lam Ya, Swad Lam Ya. So this is just a recollection, and there it meant to burn. Sayasla Naran Zat Lahab. So just the root letters are a little different. Swad Lam Ya over there, and here it is Swad Lam Wow, and here it means to pray. So it occurs about 100 times in the Quran, and here it is being used in as verb form 2, which is used 12 times. The word as salat is occurring a lot more frequently, about 83 times. And here it is being used as fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Now, salli is actually the imperative. So it means it's a command to pray. And abadan iza salla is that occurs in Surah 96, is the normal form salla, which means to pray. Abadan iza salla, a slave when he prays. And here it is a command for salli li rabbika wanhar, and pray to your Lord.
Just to recap, the command comes in the form of.
Yeah, so this is a little difficult to figure out. Because you see, the word has a vowel in it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a little difficult to figure out how exactly it's converted into a command. So the normal form would be, for example, if you say zahaba, zahaba, and if you wanted to convert it into a command, so first you would go to Muzare, okay? So you'd go yazhabu, yazhabu, zahaba, yazhabu, that would be mazi and Muzare, mazi and Muzare. And then from the Mudare, you would replace the ya with an alif. So you would have alif zahaba, zahabu. And then you would decide on whether it would be izhab or uzhab, and you would make this sakin. So this would be replaced with sakin. And then because it was a dhamma over here, you would put a kasra over here. So it would become izhab. So basically the command would be izhab. That's how you would normally convert it. So from mazi to muzare, and then from muzare you remove the ya and you add an alif, and you make this sakin, and then you make it izhab. So now here it's a little difficult because this is one of the difficult words with the vowels. So if it's salla, so the question is, how do you go from salla to fasalli? So this basically becomes salle. That becomes a command. So there is no, so you notice that there is no alif before it. And it would go from salla to, I think, to yusalli, which would be the mudari form. Yusalli. And then from yusalli, you would go to salli. So there is a connection, but it is not the normal, you don't replace the ya with an alif. So it simply becomes salli. So if you remember, if you're looking at qala, and you want to form the word imperative, the command, it becomes simply kul, right? And the way it becomes kul is because you got from qala to yuqalu, which is the mudare, and from yuqalu you remove the ya and it becomes qul. So these are not the typical easy verbs, and so it's sometimes you just have to realize that this is the imperative, the command. So fasalli li rabbika wanhar is the command form. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So going back here, fasalli li rabbika, fasalli li rabbika for your Rabb or to your Rabb, and wanhar is, let's take a look at nahar. So this is not a very common word in the Quran. It is only occurring once in the entire Quran. The root is noon, ha, and ra, and it simply means sacrifice. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. So, and this is a verb form, and nahar is the verb to sacrifice. So a command is being given that pray for your Lord and sacrifice. So if I look at a little bit in detail at this particular verb, let me just open the word by word as well. Word by word and go to Sura Kauther. Here it has a slightly different word. It also gives some details. So for salli, you can see that this is shown as an imperative verb, second person imperative. Li rabbika wanhar. And if you look at wanhar, it is also an imperative verb. So this is also a command. And how it's been converted into an imperative from the verb, I'm not 100% sure because there aren't too many examples of this. And the dictionary might be able to help as well. If you want, we can look at the dictionary. So if I duplicate this and I replace, put a nahar in there. So I normally have a little image of the keyboard to help me. So noon is here, nahar, noon, ha, and ra. So let's see. And I will switch to my Arabic keyboard. And yeah, nahar. Look at the conjugation of this. So nahara is the mazi form. Yanharu, this is a new word for me as well. Yanharu is the mazare. And the imperative is inhar. Okay. So now, although the imperative is inhar, here when it is being used, if we look at this, instead of inhar, because earlier it is being joined with the waw, so I presume that is why it is being converted into one har.
Yeah.
Instead of saying wa inhar, it is simply being convert into one har, and that's possibly because this was
Alif gets dropped, no?
yeah, the alif gets dropped or is carried over. So that's coming out over here. So fasalli li rabbika wanhar, and in the shani'aka huwal abtar. This is the last ayah of the surah. Indeed, shani'aka huwal abtar. So shani'aka, let's take a closer look at that. Shani'aka is also has only occurred 3 times in the Quran, and its root letters are Sheen, Noon, and Hamza, and twice as a noun Shanan, but only once as the active participle, which is being used over here, which is Shani. So in the Shani Aka. So Shani is simply means your enemy. So it's not a very common word in the Quran. So certainly your enemy, and you're adding the pronoun over here, Shani Aka, your enemy, Wal Abtar. He is the one who is cut off. And Al Abtar, let's look at this word. So the root letters are Ba, Ta, and Ra, and occurs only once. So some of these words are very infrequent in the Quran, and occurs as the noun. So this is a noun form. In the Shanyaka huwal abtar, and you can see there's an alif lam before it, and that's clear it is a noun. And it simply means the one who is cut off, al-abtar. So in the Shanyaka huwal abtar. So this was a short surah. We can just review it once again. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna a'ataynaka kal-Kauther. Inna a'ataynaka kal-Kauther. Indeed, we have given you Al-Kauther. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. So pray to your Lord and sacrifice. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar. Indeed, your enemy, he is the one who is cut off. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So that was the formal part. Mr. Aksab, if there's something else that is on your mind, we can discuss that, or anything else.
I just want to discuss that verb forms. You know, in English it is usually called form 1,
Yeah.
1 to 10.
Right.
That I would
So,
like to revise.
so if you look at, I think, if you look at, I don't know if you've looked at the Quranic grammar on this site of the corpus Quran. So this is quite useful. It has the entire grammatical structure of the Arabic Quran in one place. Al-Arab al-Quran al-Kareem. So if you look at, for example, it has all the nominals, which are basically the nouns over here. And then it has all the verb forms, and then the phrases and clauses, and also other things. So the one that you're referring to is basically should be here in the verb forms. So let's take a look at the verb forms. And here they're talking about, the 3 root letters, fa'ala, and the possible derivations. So here they've listed down all the 10 forms. So there is form 1, which is fa'ala, then form 2, fa'ala, form 3 is fa'ala, form 4 is af'ala. This is what we came across today, af'ala. And form 5 is tafa'ala, form 6 is tafa'ala, 7 is infa'ala, 8 is ifta'ala, 9 is if'alla, and 10 is istaf'ala.